Here, by the way. I'm a graduate of Miami University, as well as my graduate work was done. My undergraduate work was at Miami. My graduate work was at the University of Cincinnati. One of the things that I have always liked to do is I'm a public servant for different organizations, and I believe in giving back what you have. So I serve on several committees. I serve on the Powell Crosley YMCA board. I also serve on the subcommittee, one of the subcommittees with the Finneytown School System, which is their advisory committee, because I want to know as well what's happening in the school system and what can I do as an elected official to help our school system in Springfield Township. I know I have a very short time, so I cannot expound. I have 1 minute. So what I wanted to do first is thank the Finneytown Civic Association for hosting this event tonight. And I'm going to focus not on all the accomplishments I've made, but just on 3 major areas that I want to focus on this evening. The first one is leadership. I'm a proven, experienced public servant and a common sense leader who works for the township, not just for a select few. I work effectively and efficiently with my fellow cohorts. I was elected by my peers to be the chair of the Springfield Township Board of Trustees. So I want to focus on leadership. I want to talk about how I've saved dollars for our taxpayers, and we've saved it in many ways. Gas aggregation. Just recently our bonds were refunded, saving you on your Rumpke bill that's coming up in April 2016. And then I want to talk about, again, just the citizen engagement and transparency. I have to stop now. There's so many things I could share, but for the sake of time, I'm going to stop there. So I'm just asking, again, for your consideration, and I would be happy to meet with you after the meeting and elaborate more in these areas. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Kyle Hufford. You guys will have to excuse me. I've got a little bit of a cold. Just getting over it. So my voice is a little quiet. But, you know, I'm a small business guy. I've had a business here in Finneytown since 2010. Before that, I was a IT professional. Worked 15 years doing contracting, did some full-time positions. I've owned several businesses over the years, and I think it's time for a different perspective, some fresh faces and some new ideas. You know, I think 20 years is a long time, and you know, it's time for something new. We need to get our roads fixed. We've got over $40 million worth of road repairs that need done throughout the township. We're spending $500,000 a year. We do get matching funds from the state on a lot of those, but it's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken ankle. We have the money to fix our roads. The JEDS tax that was passed last year, 1.5% earnings tax, was meant to fill a $1 million budget gap after some cuts that were made to the general fund. It's bringing in double what was originally projected. I'd like to use every penny of that money to fix our roads. You know, I want to work on our transparency. I'd like to see all of the township trustee videos posted online. We record 1 meeting a month. You know, there's a work session meeting every month. There's CIC meetings, JEDS board meetings, special meetings that get called from time to time. It's not unusual for those to be in the middle of the day when people are at work, and they don't get to see those unless they show up at these meetings. And I want to put the township's checkbook online on ohiocheckbook.com so that we, the taxpayers, know where the money's going. That's all I got.
This is a real basic question, but I like it. What are the role and responsibilities of being a Springfield Township trustee?
Well, I can tell you I've been going to the meetings now for over 2 years. I've been to every single meeting except for one when I was out of town. And you know, I think that the main responsibility of a township trustee is to be a steward for the community, to make sure that we are doing what's best for our residents. You know, we're paying the second highest property tax rate in Hamilton County. I think it's time that we stop with the tax hikes. Our residents can't take any more. You know, I think we need to look out for you know, what's going to impact our community, and we need to work on fixing our infrastructure. That's going to be my top priority behind public safety. And let me say, I think our police and our fire are second to none. We really need to support those guys, and I would definitely be supportive of renewals for both of those. But, you know, we need to keep our services where they are and find ways to spend our money more efficiently, and I think that's the main thing the trustees need to do.
Thank you. That's a great question. From my perspective, Springfield Township Trustees, or a trustee, is basically a public servant to the people. We are responsible for monitoring the expenditures, the revenue of the township. We're responsible for making sure that our police and our roads and our fire department meets the needs of the community and serves them. That's what a trustee in a township is all about. You see that across the state. That's not unique. We don't raise taxes. I have been told that my opponent says I've raised taxes 13 times. I have never raised taxes. That is not, we are forbidden by law to do that. The taxes or any decisions around that, and I know I have to stop, that's the choice of the voters in the community. The other, I have to stop, don't I?
10 seconds.
Okay. The other thing is you provide leadership, and when you talk about the taxes, we all know, and we as trustees know, the taxes are the highest taxes that we have. I have to stop. But out of $1, I'll just tell you, the Springfield Township trustees get 25 cents. The rest of the dollars go for our schools, which we know are in great shape. They need to be improved maybe in some areas, and the county taxes. So we only get 25 cents out of $1. Thank you.
Over the last few years, since Governor Kasich has been in charge of the state of Ohio, we've had about 65% of our local government tax money reduced here in the township. Township has done a lot of things to compensate for that, to keep things rolling. What would you propose to better balance the budget over the next couple of years?
Well, we continue to look at opportunities, how we can keep the budget balanced. And we all know, as Mr. Gorman stated, that the dollars that we were sending from our Springfield Township was going to Columbus, and we were to receive your money back. So we sent your money to Columbus and we didn't get it back. So what we're doing now is looking how we can continue to save taxpayer money. We're looking out for opportunities, for example, like grants. There are opportunities for grants. For example, with the road department, in the past 4 years, $2.5 million have come to us through SCIP grants, and that's to help with resurfacing and repavement of the streets. Our levy failed 4 times in the township, as you all know, regarding the roads. That was the choice of the people. So that's one of the reasons our infrastructure is in the position that it's in. But I think it's critical to continue to look for opportunities that we can reach out for growth resources, and growth resources mean virtually that you look for opportunities that the state and the federal government may have to bring money into the township. Thank you.
Excuse me. One thing I will say about the state cuts, I believe it was 53% cut to the general fund. Is that correct?
It's about 60-some percent.
It said 53% on all the literature you guys had last year. But anyway, several years ago, our township trustees made 35% reduction to the general fund expenditures. That amounts to about $1.5 million a year. In anticipation for the state cuts, I'll give them credit for that. But the thing is, we could have made those cuts a lot sooner than when the state took the money away. They didn't make those cuts until they were forced to, and what that tells me is that my opponent has been overspending for much of her political career. The other thing I will say is, you know, depending on what numbers you look at, I've heard 2.1, 2.5, 2.6 million as being the number that was cut from the state, the combination of the estate tax, tangible property tax, public utilities tax, local government fund. The JEDS this year is going to bring in $2.2 million, and that almost takes care of that entire amount of the state cuts with only 70% compliance from the businesses. Where's that extra $1.5 million that we cut?
May I respond to that? Or wait?
Yeah, maybe you should.
I would like to say that basically,
Here.
oh.
It's a good question.
The Township trustees have always been very conservative in the way that we balanced our budget. There's never been a time when we have been zealous or overextending ourselves as far as our budget was concerned. When the cuts came through the federal government, we knew ahead of time, we were preparing ahead of time, but we weren't prepared for the global economy drop like we had. So basically, when my opponent talks about we were frivolous with our money, we've always been fiscally conservative when it comes to spending our money. To give you an example, we were planning way ahead of time how we were going to balance the budget, how we were going to meet the needs of the township. When positions were emptied or we had succession plans where individuals left, we did not replace those positions. We already had that succession plan in place, so that was not new news. We continue to be frivolous and conservative with how we're spending the money. We have never, ever spent money that was not in the budget. When we have our budget hearings at the end of the year, we are very frivolous and we cut. Anything the staff wants, we don't give it to them. We only do what we know is fiscally responsible as trustees in Springfield Township.
Unfortunately, I didn't answer the question I asked. Where's the extra $1.5 million that we cut from the general fund? My understanding is we're only going to have $500,000 in carryover this year. Why don't we have closer to 1.5, 1.2, whatever it would be? Last year they spent $500,000 more than what came in. We have to live within our means. We've got to find ways to do more with less, spend our resources more efficiently, and the bottom line is, at the end of the month, there's got to be some money left over.
What are your top 3 priorities if you become a township trustee?
Number 1, first and foremost, public safety. I think we need to support our police and fire. They do an amazing job. They're out there putting their lives on the line every day, and I think they do a great job. Number 2 is roads. Roads. Like I said, we should have an extra $1.5 million if the numbers are correct, that's what they cut. We apply for the SCIP grants every year. They've been doing 1 or 2 projects when they can get approved. That's $500,000 approximately per project, so that's about $2 million in road repairs if we get two SCIP projects done. I'd like to take that extra $1.5 million and whether we get a SCIP grant for it or not, fix some more of our roads. I want to double or triple what we're doing now.
First of all, roads are my top priority. The infrastructure is our top priority. That is across the board, no matter what. We don't have a surplus in our budget. The other thing my opponent said, we have all this money left over or going to have it from the JEDS. We cannot predict yet what we're going to get from the JEDS. We know that 60% of our businesses have complied, but that's the larger businesses. So the other businesses are smaller business, so therefore you're not going to get the money that you receive from the larger businesses. So I think it's premature for us to even state that we're going to take that money and roll it over into roads. We never ever said that the JEDS would be used to fix all of our roads. We said it would be used to help maintain some of the operations across the department. My second priority is keeping the lines of communication open and transparent. Yes, our checkbook and we learned from the state about a year ago that they were going to have checkbook compliance. We were waiting for them to take care of all the kinks in the system. They have not done that as of yet. 4 months ago, we decided to put our finances online. As today, the checkbook transparency system with the state of Ohio, it still has lots of kinks. It has not worked out. We, though, have put our finances online so that you can see them and view them. Anyone has any questions, they can always come, I have to stop, to our office and meet with our fiscal officer, which is Dan Burney. Thank you.
She went over by about a minute. Can I respond to that?
Sure, go ahead. 35 seconds.
Okay. That's all I need. What I will say about the checks that they put online, it's a great first step. They started, 3 months ago now, putting
Got four.
There's been 3 so far.
4.
There's actually been 3.
4.
I'm sure of it. I've downloaded all 3 of them. So anyway,
You missed one.
okay. So anyway, they are putting the checks on the fiscal officer report. The issue that I take with this is, it only lists who the expenditure is to and how much the amount is. It doesn't categorize anything like ohiocheckbook.com does. It's not a searchable document. There's no historical data on there. In order to put the stuff on ohiocheckbook.com, they use the same software that the state uses, UAN. They actually get it from the state. I downloaded the manual and sent it over to Chris Gilbert to show him how to export the database. It's literally you hit a button and export the database, send the email over to the state with the file, and they take care of everything else. It doesn't cost the township a dime, and it's much more robust, and you can search it like a Google search.
I just want to respond. The Ohio checkbook is still has a lot of kinks. For example, this last month, if you went on the Ohio checkbook, it showed Springfield Township even had our logo on there, even had some of our staff names and the monies that were coming in, but it was not our Springfield Township here in Hamilton County. It was a Springfield Township in another part of the state. There are 5 Springfield Townships in the state of Ohio. So until they get that worked out, we are not going to go online until they get that done, and we will continue to put our finances online.
So it is something you're going to do eventually?
Oh, yes.
First time I've heard that.
Recently, I've been getting a lot of complaints, concerns about gunshots in the neighborhood. Even during the Finneytown school parade, it seemed like somebody was shooting a gun off, and apparently it is legal for someone to discharge a firearm on their property. This is state law. The township really has no, I guess, political jurisdiction over that. It seems kind of scary to me. What will you do to reduce gun violence in our community?
First of all, I think it's totally inappropriate for a person to be shooting in their backyard in our community. There are plenty of opportunities for an individual to go to an area where they can shoot their weapons like a target and everything else, so that there's not any problems there. What will I do to reduce gun violence? One of the things our police department, and we're working with them too, is to get the illegal guns off the streets. That's important. The other thing is to look at how those illegal drugs are impacting not only our community, but our schools as well. So we are continuing to look at that. As trustees, we have no control over a lot of those things, and we have to also look at basically what we're going to do, where we're going to go, and how we're going to make that happen. And I just want to say, because of those issues around gun violence in our community, I was fortunate to create the Police and Community Relations Task Force to look at just some of those issues, so that we can look at how we can have peace in our neighborhood and prevent individuals from harm and being killed. But the most important thing is to get those illegal guns off the street. And I do not support anybody in our community shooting guns in their backyard. The perimeters and the environment is too close. It's just not appropriate.
I agree with my opponent that we need to get the guns off the street, the illegal guns. It's definitely a problem. You see all the shootings that are in Cincinnati. These people are not getting those guns by legal means. They're either getting them off the street or they're stealing them from people's homes. They don't go to a legal store and buy them. I agree 100%. We need to get those off the street. We need to work with our police department and figure out some creative ways to do that. I have met with Chief Browder, and that conversation did come up when we spoke, but we only spoke about it briefly, so I don't have a whole lot of insight on that particular issue. As far as the discharge of firearms in the township, there's nothing that the township can do to prevent that. We're not a municipality, so you cannot, the township's not allowed to enact any law by Ohio Revised Code 9.68, the state preemption law. the township cannot enact any law that's more strict than the state law. And I think as long as people are doing it safely, if they've got the space to do it on their property, they've got a good backstop, and they're not shooting it toward people's homes or something like that, I think the fact that it's legal to do, I don't have a problem with it.
So you're saying that it's safe?
If they're doing it
That's
safely.
what you expressed?
If they're doing it safely, I said.
That's not the forum.
How do you handle conflict, and how can you work to gain consensus on difficult issues?
Okay. Well, I mean, you know, we have to have a public dialogue. You know, we have to work with the community and find out what direction that we want to go. Maybe we need to do some kind of a survey and find out what the people want us to do with the money, with the tax money, with their tax dollars. I don't know if anything like that has ever been done. I know we've had some committees and that sort of thing, but you know, maybe something like that is in order. As far as the conflict resolution, you know, I'm a business guy. I have problems with my employees all the time that you know, they bring issues to me, and you just need to work through them. You need to sit down and have a civil conversation and put it all out on the table and you know, figure out a solution. I don't know, I guess that's all I got.
Conflict can be very healthy, but it depends on how you address it and how you deal with it. One of the things I think is very important, no matter what kind of discussions are occurring, that you respect the individuals that you're in communication with, that there are open lines of communication, that you don't disrespect and shut people off when they're trying to talk with you or they have an issue. The most important thing, too, is engage individuals in what's going on in the community. There's less conflict when the community is engaged in making decisions regarding where the township is going, and they partake in that and engage in that, therefore they have an ownership to it. That is a way to minimize a lot of conflict, and that's what we have found in Springfield Township to be very, very successful. We engage the community, just as we did with the Neighborhood Action Plan. If you guys remember, and a lot of you were on those teams, we had a very diverse communications, and we had diverse meetings where we talked about, to the residents, where do you want to see the township? Where do you want to see the township in 5, 10, 15 years? What can we do to make this happen? So they came together in this decision-making process. We have minimized the conflicts tremendously since then, and I'm told I have to stop.
The role of the job, let's say, of a Springfield Township trustee is not a full-time position.
That's true.
Each of you have your own jobs, and I'd like to know what kind of jobs you have, because this question here says, I've heard about plans to draw new businesses into the township. What would you do as a trustee to help existing township businesses? What is your business that you own, and how would you help attract new business?
I am in healthcare administration and have been most of my professional career. I also have a small business, and I do consultant work with hospitals to help put together JCO regulations, policies, and procedures. I am very, I'm accessible. My job allows me to be flexible and encourages it as well. I think the important thing is to look out and look for trends, look at what we can do to bring top quality businesses into the township, which is what we have been doing. We are continuing, and we want to retain the businesses that we have in the township as well. So I would go out working with our administrator, and I have done this to some of the, throughout the state, to try to get a sense of what businesses do the township residents want. We want top quality, but sometimes there are a lot of dynamics regarding when a business is going to move into the township. They don't want duplication within a certain amount of miles. They want to make sure, based on the profile of the community, that the community will sustain their business, and that's very critical. So I've had the opportunity to go with our administrator to help recruit businesses. I think it's very critical that we keep our township viable and also to retain and bring in new businesses. And we are continuing to bring in business in spite of some concern that when we enacted the JED, the businesses would leave. They have not left, we're bringing them in.
As far as attracting new businesses, I think we need to look at possibly doing some tax incentives. I know we had an opportunity to bring a Target into Springfield Township at one point, and my understanding was they wanted the land for free or something like that.
It was Walmart.
Was it Walmart?
And
That was Target.
they did not want to bring the Walmart in because there was one in Forest Park, and so that was where the problem was. They were in close proximity to the other ones.
I don't know where I got Target from then. But anyway, I think we need to look at some ways to do some incentives to get some more businesses here. I think that the earnings tax does impact whether or not businesses choose to locate here. It may not impact all of them, but when they've got a choice between coming to Springfield Township or somewhere like Westchester or Liberty Township or Anderson where they don't have an earnings tax, you know, location's the biggest thing, but I think that that is a factor. You know, I was against the tax. I still don't like paying the tax. I don't like paying that tax any more than you guys would want to pay an additional property tax. It's here to stay. Even if I wanted to get rid of it, the other two trustees aren't going to vote to get rid of it. And I wouldn't, at this point, before getting rid of it, unless we could find the additional revenues to replace what it's bringing in, or make the cuts necessary, or a combination of the two, without impacting our services.
Kyle, what is your business?
Oh, I own Kyle's Gun Shop. You guys know that.
And the tax you're just talking about was the JED's tax?
Yeah.
I got, here's an interesting question. Kyle, you were vocally against the JEDs. You stated at a public hearing loudly, "I've got the solution for you. It's called bankruptcy." Chapter 9. Detroit just went through it. Is this responsible thinking?
Well, I did say those words. It was a facetious comment that I made to illustrate a point, and that point was we are not in dire straits. Even if the JEDs did not pass, bankruptcy is not something that would be needed. You know, would we have had to make some cuts and some difficult decisions? Yes. But again, the voters have spoke. It's here. I think we need to put that issue behind us and start talking about what we're going to do to move our township forward and make it sustainable into the future. I'll say again, I was definitely against it. I don't like paying the tax, but it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
I'm sorry, Kyle, my opponent, when he made that comment, he was serious, and I like to say serious as a heart attack. He really did not want that JEDs, and he still is frustrated because it didn't pass. But he will tell you, because it did pass, he will tell you that later on he saw that it was possibly a good thing, and when he was asked, why did you not support it, he said, well, I can tell a half lie, you know, it was a half truth. So therefore, the JEDs is here, it's here to stay, and what we are continuing to do is look at how we can continue to expand that money. We don't know how much money we're going to get. And then the other thing I can say is our community was aware of what was happening with the cuts from our governor and the state legislative people. At no time did Kyle try to help us to go to Columbus and talk with the legislative people, asking them not to take away our local government funds. I went to Columbus, Joe Hunterlaw went to Columbus. We stood for hours in Columbus trying to get, and we did have had some success, but their decision was already made that they were going to cut local government funds. It makes you wonder if they even want to demolish township government.
Got about one question left, and let's see. The Arts Connect Council has been around for maybe about a year or so, 2 years. It's run out of the township government office. As a candidate, what is your plan for the Arts Council?
I want to see the Arts Connect to continue. It's been an asset to the township, provides events that are very family-oriented. Kim Flam is in charge of that, and she works very closely with the Playhouse in the Park and other organizations to bring not only events and musical events and symphonies, but she works hard to make sure that it's well-rounded and well-balanced. So I believe it pays for itself. Whatever revenue they bring in helps pay for the money that's going out. So I think it's an asset, it's an attribute for our community, and I want to see it continue. It's staffed by volunteers, and we have some staff that are helping to coordinate that, but they're already on the payroll. So it's very critical that we continue with the Arts Connect. It's good for our community, and it's good for our neighborhoods and township. And when you see the activities where the parents come and they have pajama night with the kids, it's really fabulous. And I just went to a play at Dinner Theater this past week. We had a room full. I'd say we had about 50-some people, so I have to stop. But it's an asset. It's pulling the people in, and the community enjoys it.
Before I get to the Arts Council question, I will say I'm not a Kasich guy. I think the state cuts were a horrible idea. I'm okay with the estate tax being repealed. I think that that's wrong, that you get taxed on money that you've been taxed on your whole life when you die a second time. But I have actually been in communication with Tom Brinkman and Jonathan Deaver, whom I both know personally, that are in the state legislature, and I have been encouraging them to try and get that money back into the budget. As far as the Arts Council goes, I think it is a good thing for our community. The issues that I have with it is that they say that the reason they established it was as a way to use less taxpayer dollars to bring arts into the community. Last year their budget was $25,000. They only had $8,600 in sponsorships and grants. I think we need to look at some more ways to get more sponsorships and more grants so that it does truly pay for itself and that we're not using taxpayer dollars for those programs. I think they're great. I went to some of the events this year, enjoyed the concerts, but I think we need to find some more ways to bring in additional sponsorships.
Everybody's talking about fiscal responsibility, trying to get more for your bang for your buck, that kind of thing. Name the cuts that you would like to see occur in the Springfield Township budget.
That's a tough question because I have requested copies of the budget and it's very general. It'll have line items such as personnel, equipment, maintenance. Doesn't really tell you where the money's going. That's one of the reasons I really want to focus on this OhioCheckbook.com thing, so we can really know where the money's going, what it's being spent on. Cutting is not a popular thing. Nobody wants their stuff cut. But what I will say is when I get in there and I can take a look at the real numbers, which I have not seen, I am going to do everything I can to find ways that we can eliminate waste, do more with less, and spend our resources more efficiently.
I'm very proud to say that we have not filled positions with our succession plan. When we have individuals that have left or retired, we have not filled many of those positions. Right now, we are lean and mean. And you cannot be leaner than we are now, because then the quality of the services that you're going to need will be damaged. We ask our residents multiple times, if you had to cut services, what would you want to cut? And do you feel we need to cut more services? The residents overwhelmingly said, we have cut leaf pickup, you don't pick up brush anymore, we don't want any more services cut. So then you don't cut. I mean, we're listening to the residents, and I think that's important that you listen to the residents. Also, my opponent stated he doesn't understand the budget. He doesn't clearly understand where the salaries are. If he would just take a moment to meet with our fiscal officer or our administrator, everything is public information. We've never tried to hide it. It's always been transparent. So if he doesn't understand something, and he has done multiple records requests, trying to find out where there was a problem, and he has not been successful in doing that as of yet. So my response is, all he has to do is ask. Thank you.
Just to clarify for a second, the businesses that pay into the JEDs, the Joint Economic Development Zone, do they get that money back at the end of the year? Just whatever they pay into it, do they get it back?
If they live in the township.
Right. If they live in, okay. If they live and work in the township, they get the money back.
Right.
we have to close here in a minute here, but why don't you take 2 minutes each and give us a rousing send-off and just get everybody excited about voting. Well, no, start with Kyle first.
Okay.
Well, I'm Kyle Hufford. I'm asking for your vote November 3rd. And I just think it's time for some changes here in the township. It's time for some fresh faces and some new ideas. It is time for us to be more forward-looking, to figure out how we're going to make our township sustainable into the future. And I think with my business experience in the private sector, I have the knowledge and the experience necessary to figure out ways to eliminate waste and do more with less, and live within our means, which is what we should be doing. I'm going to work very hard to stretch the dollars that we have coming in from the JEDS tax, from the cuts that we've made, and get our infrastructure fixed. A 40-year cycle on repairing our roads is not acceptable. For the amount of taxes that we're paying, the second highest property tax rate in Hamilton County, we should not have our roads crumbling the way that they are. It's just unacceptable. I'm going to work very hard. I'm a small business guy. I can set my own schedule. I'm not going to be just showing up every 2 weeks or twice a month for the meetings and collecting a paycheck. I'm going to be down at the Township Administration Building, working hard behind the scenes with our administrator and our other staff, making sure that we are getting the job done for you and serving you, our residents. Thank you.
First of all, I just want to clarify something again. The township only gets 25 cents out of every dollar that is spent in the township. We are not the individuals who have raised our taxes. When I first came to Springfield Township, and I told you how many years ago that was, our taxes were high then. So again, it is not the Springfield Township trustees who are raising your taxes. Okay, I want to get that straight first. I care about Springfield Township. I, Gwen McFarland, have always been a community uniter, not a community divider. I am of the people, by the people, and for all the people in Springfield Township, not just for a few people. My opponent has all kinds of ideals, but he has no solutions. We have solutions, and I have solutions and have had them since I first came on board as a trustee. You know, Ben Franklin once said, without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achieve, and success have no meaning. Springfield Township is viable, we have vitality, and we are economically vibrant with opportunities for growth improvement. Our township is demonstrating that. Right now, we are still in the middle of a lot of issues. We're still trying to climb aboard, and we're doing a great job there. To bring in a person who is inexperienced, who really has no real solution-based concepts, is going to be disaster for our township. Also, the thing to be concerned about, we just received a AA2 bond rating by Moody in New York. And it's very important that I just have to pull this out and share this with you. What they said was we received the AA2 bonding rating because of the township's strong management team, prudent fiscal management, and formation of the Joint Economic Development Zone. These were the key factors that allowed us to rate with this strong AA2 board bond rating. So if anything should happen to our financial status, our financial stability, or the quality of life in our township, our bond rating will definitely be damaged. So if that's what you want to happen in Springfield Township, if that's what you want to see our ratings drop and to see our township go down the tube, after all the hard work we as trustees have done for the township, then you won't vote for me. You'll vote for my opponent. But if you want to see the township continue to flourish, to grow, and meet the challenges, and move us into the future, and continue to engage our residents in the process, you will vote for Gwen McFarland on November the 3rd for the future of our township. Thank you.